Being that the United States of America is the most powerful country in the world, the presidential election is of great importance to those outside of her borders. It's often said that if America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. As a budding Yankophile, I also admire many American freedoms, such as exemplified in the First and Second Amendments to the Constitution of the United States. Movement here affects the rest of the Western world, and I think a decay in American free speech will only cause doubling down in Europe. With that in mind, as a citizen of the United Kingdom, I'm going to take a quick overview of the pros and cons of a Donald Trump versus a Hillary Clinton presidency, having followed their campaigns, seen their respective RNC and DNC speeches, and their campaign positions on their websites. I won't be looking at everything they've proposed, just the things that are important to me, namely free speech, gun rights, border control, military intervention in the Middle East, and general competence and promotion of stability. If we divide this up into a pro category, a meh category, and a con category, I can give a condensed form of my thoughts on the candidates. So let's begin. Donald Trump. Pros. Against Iraq War. At first glance seems to vaguely understand that intervention in Libya and Syria helped destabilise the region, leading to the rise of ISIS. Support supplied to moderate rebels. And the migrant crisis. Loss of southern border control in Libya, chaos in Syria, and ISIS rampaging around the rest of the Middle East contributed to that. Seems to not want to start World War III with Russia. Supports retaining national sovereignty and the ability of nation-states to be selective about who they let in and who is allowed to stay. As a non-US citizen, I find the worry over the fairly civilised Mexicans to be a bit overblown. But he's helping push an Overton window here that is useful to us Europeans in solving our more severe problems. Tax simplification needs to be done, and would raise more money at the same rates due to loophole reduction. Ending excessive regulation. USA can move up from its, last I recall, 16 rank on the Fraser Institute Economic Freedom Report and save money. Is this how the USA is going to break even from raping the world economy by starting a trade war with China? Watch this space. Struggles to name a Bible verse and doesn't seem to care much about social conservatism, with one or two notable exceptions, beyond what is necessary to get elected in the GOP. Replace Scalia with a new Supreme Court judge and defend the Second Amendment. America is a shining beacon for gun rights, and Hillary would kill that, so I'm with the Don on that one. At first glance appears to be the free speech, anti-PC candidate defending the first. Annoys people I don't like. The salt from the peanut gallery is delicious. And, of course, the memes. Meh. His healthcare plan. Okay. Lower corporate tax rates. Neat, whatever. Cons. Flip-flops constantly. Not as bad as Romney, but still. Seems to oppose the neoconservative line, but then veers straight into it, going on about how we need to stop Iran and how great torture is. Flip-flopped twice on Libya, going from being in favour of kicking out Gaddafi to his more familiar anti-neocon position. And then last I checked, he's back to saying we should have shot him straight away. Then again, he's remained positive towards Russia, so Putin might be able to bring him around again on Syria and Iran. And here's that notable exception in social conservatism. He did say that women who get abortions have to be punished. This is clearly not something he actually believes, because he's so clumsily misinterpreting the conservative position on abortion that Pat Robertson is wincing. But the fact that he suggests such a thing makes him look like a dangerous, politically illiterate buffoon. Protectionism and trying to bully other countries into deals. Look, I understand why people are considering protectionism, but most of the evidence is in favour of free trade being better. The best exceptions apply to weak, third world industry, not superpowers. Making foreign goods more expensive just so the unemployed can have the dignity of low-paid jobs doesn't impress me, especially since we're busy finding ways to automate them out of existence anyway. The future for the useless is permanent welfare, bring on the basic income guarantee, and the conservative masses are just going to have to check their pride, keep their chin up and stop acting like children. As the 21st century progresses, the IQ floor for employment is going to keep rising, and we're all just going to have to accept that software engineers will be our overlords. But hey, maybe you don't believe in that science fiction crap. Well, take it all aside and his trade and foreign policies are still awful and will probably result in a trade war with China. This happened before during the Great Depression with the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, which led to retaliatory tariffs, making everyone worse off by lowering global production. Only this time add WWE-style showboating to the proceedings to make antagonising other countries into shutting down trade even easier. Actually, the one hope here is that his plan to lower corporate tax rates will offset the damages protectionism will do in making goods more expensive. Trump does have a good point, though, about the existing trade deals. These supposed free trade deals, these 1,000-page documents that have to be passed before you're allowed to find out what's in them. That's dodgy. Making smaller individual deals with individual countries may be a better idea, if only it wasn't so protectionist. In that vein, getting Mexico to pay for the wall. Sorry, the wall. When you look at the cost of the wall, how much is the wall going to cost? Lots of different people disagree. There's lots of disagreement on how much it will cost. But Israel is building a pretty damn effective wall relatively recently that drastically cut rates of suicide bombings. And you compare the length of that wall to the American border and you can get a rough first hand of cost. Israel's West Bank barrier has cost about $2 billion so far, and costs about $2 million per kilometre of construction. The United States border with Mexico is around 3,200 kilometres, so we can easily derive a rough first-hand estimate of $6.4 billion to construct, which is a one-time cost since maintenance costs will be lower, and this is 1/500th of the 2015 federal budget. Even if you come to some estimate where it costs 10 times as much, this one-time cost is still affordable, and, it could be built over more than 1 year. And then, as said, maintenance costs will be less. The USA could also not build trillion-dollar fighter aircraft as well. You wouldn't need to cut that much other stuff to afford it, and yet he wants to bully Mexico into paying for it. What happens when Mexico refuses? What then? War? It's interesting that getting another country to pay for something erecting on your soil was the first place he went to. Let's take our second glance at the free speech issue. Trump wants to open up US libel laws to crush the Lügenpresse. That makes me sigh a lot. People can say that lies are different than opinions all they want, but I find that way too slippery and abusable, which is why I'm a free speech extremist. Possibly even a free speech terrorist. We all hate the media that disagrees with us. But I think that social media trolling is doing a good job of cutting it down to size. We're all the media now, so strong libel laws would mean pushing the government's interpretation of the truth onto the populace in general, or at least as the distinction between media and the individual breaks down, that would be the case. Don't like it. Pleases people I hate. The alt-right, neo-Nazis and other racial nationalist types seem to think that Trump's cultural nationalism is a ruse and that he's on their side. Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to be so very disappointed when he gets into power. Hillary Clinton. Pros. The illusion of stability might meme magic itself into real stability. Meh. Benghazi. The non-scandal. I don't know what to think about the email scandal. That being said, some of the non-classified information revealed in those emails is terrifying and says a lot about her character. Cons. She's a dishonorary neocon, and that worldview has a lot to answer for. At least neocons don't invite the world after they invade it. One of the released emails from the scandal shows that she wants Bashar al-Assad, an Iranian ally, to go so that Israel's trigger finger will get less itchy, and then Israel and the US can agree on a red line for Iran. This is insane. I shouldn't have to emphasise how nutso this is. Might start World War III with Russia. She's certainly a hawk against Putin. And she wants to bully Russia and China on their human rights issues. Look, these places are shitty countries, but it's probably best to just let your country stand as an example. Is it really a good idea to get in the bad books of Russia and China? It's probably better to normalise relations, right? So-called free trade deals. Funny this one, considering I complained about Trump's protectionism. The thing is, these deals might get rid of tariffs and barriers to trade, but they also help integrate shitty copyright laws and other regulations globally. So yeah, I'm in the crazy old Ron Paul camp on this one. Then there's the fact that she seems to be copying Trump in attacking China lately, so maybe she'll go down the protectionism route too, having absorbed some Bernie positions. My guns. Well, actually not my guns, since I'm interned in Britain. But I admire the Yank freedoms from afar, and feel they stand as a symbol for the rest of the world. Almost like some kind of anchor, actually, some fixed point to orient yourself around. Free speech again. She hasn't said anything specific, but I know which way the wind is blowing. A recent study reported that 40% of US millennials support cracking down on hate speech. Hillary's going to be pandering to those people hard. Hillary's pretty much a corporate centrist with warmongering tendencies. But she's also an opportunist and may pander to Black Lives Matter as well as other intersectionalist causes. I seem to remember some vague evidence that she was behind getting BLM to pester Bernie rallies, but I won't hold it against her because I can't confirm that or anything. Hillary will absolutely shill for feminism, and since feminism is intersectionalism these days, I feel like it comes with the territory. She of course interprets the wage gap as being down to misogyny, and believes in government action to correct the effects of people's individual life choices, as you can see from her campaign website. This kind of thinking may distort her overall economic policy. She's really sick. Hillary is collapsing all over the place. You vote Hillary Clinton and you're basically getting Tim Kaine, however that goes. So in conclusion, if I were an American citizen, who would I vote for? One candidate is a deeply sick and corrupt crone and consistent neocon with horrible progressive tendencies, and the other is a buffoonish cartoon character and inconsistent on and off again neocon, who, to his credit, thinks states should have borders. My main concern, given the migrant crisis in Europe, is that someone can be a beacon in America for the idea that states have borders. I just wish it wasn't Trump. I really wish it wasn't. But it might have to be. We're heading into unknown territory here, but if I was a US citizen, I certainly couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, and I might just vote Donald Trump while holding my nose. Trump is a chaos candidate, but he's the one chance to at least attempt to end the twin terrors of neoconservatism and progressivism. People may view Hillary as the stability candidate, simply because she's the status quo candidate. But the status quo is far from stable. Neoconservatism has been wrecking the world since the 21st century began, and all the way being a completely bipartisan agenda, with Obama and progressive candidates like Hillary fully deserving the label in spite of being Democrats. Neoconservatism is continuing to stir up ever bigger swarms of hornets in the Middle East. It is fixated on making the world safe for democracy rather than making the world safe. It has summoned ISIS only to fight against those fighting ISIS. It must end. Trump may be a flip-flopper. He may only be half not a neocon, but at least he isn't full neocon and strangely progressive at the same time. Here's your problem. Hillary Clinton is a chaos candidate too. Good luck.